Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year! We hope you had a lovely Christmas break and a good start to 2026. We are very excited to be back and introduce you to a special organization today. But first, some general announcement from our side.
First and foremost, we are the new host of the new season of Pro Bono, a podcast where we want to present organizations engaging in the fields of law and civil society that are potentially also of interest for younger law students. You know the term pro bono probably from your legal studies. It basically indicates that lawyers handle cases free of charge and mostly for a good cause. In a similar way, the goal of our podcast is to shed some light on the work of organizations that often focus on human rights, democracy, rule of law, and protection of vulnerable groups. In the past episode, we mostly focused on NGOs and student initiatives based in Vienna, and this time we would like to extend the scope and introduce you to organizations that work also outside of Austria.
My name is Hannah, and together with my co-host Julia, we are kicking off another season of Pro Bono today. Both of us work at the Department of Innovation and Digitalization in Law at the University of Vienna and joined at the end of last year. Lukas, that you might be familiar with from the last season, will be our technical support and help us to design the next sessions as well. If there are any organizations you would like to hear more about on the podcast or are a member or founder of such an organization, please feel free to contact us and we would be very happy to have a chat with you.
And today we have two special guests with us, Alina and Helena from SHE Talks. Welcome. SHE Talks is a women empowerment and networking project at the University of Vienna, which aims to break down outdated gender roles and strengthen self-confidence of young women. Alina and Helena, we're very happy to have you here today. Would you like to start by introducing yourselves?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for the invitation and the possibility to talk about our project. We really appreciate it. My name is Alina Waltenberger and I'm currently a student at the University of Vienna's law faculty and I am an active member of SHE Talks.
My name is Helena Ambos and I'm a student of the University of Vienna as well, but my main is in political science and I'm very happy that you're having us today.
Okay, let us start with the first main question then. What exactly is SHE Talks and how did it all start at the Juridicum?
So basically you already described it a bit. So SHE Talks is a project at the University of Vienna's law faculty and we intend to support and connect women in general, but also at the law faculty. And our goal is to critically discuss and break down gender stereotypes and encourage young women. And in that way, we also are trying to promote gender equality in general. And the start of our project is basically in 2018, because it was already an active project from 2018 to 2020. The members back then were Hanna Mosler and Magdalena Steringer, who really successfully managed the project back then. It was a bit smaller and due to a corona-related break, basically, they had to stop and they didn't want to continue. And then I took the project over and I think it was 2023, yes. Yeah, and I was very lucky to be immediately joined by very ambitious colleagues who are still part of the team, so I'm very grateful for that. And yes, we took the project over and we re-established it basically at the Juridicum. We re-established, we extended it and rebranded it. And the original idea was to have women talk about their careers and also gender equality in general, I guess, and we extended it also to current feminist topics. And we introduced workshops and this year also networking events. And a big part now of our identity is also our social media work. We will all come to that later, I think. But yes, this is how SHE Talks started and SHE Talks developed over time. And now we are currently 11 members, I think, yes, 11. And yeah, this is the reason we were able to grow so fast and so much and have She Talks what it is now. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I would add maybe that we're also growing quite steadily. So I wasn't there at the beginning in 2023. I joined in 2024, and last year actually, because now it's 2026, we also got 2 new members. So
yeah, we extended our team twice now, and this of course helps us also to take on new projects, new branches, and be open for new ideas. If we want to do something, of course you need the power to do it and the staff basically to do it. So yeah, very grateful that also so many people are interested to join.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. That sounds really great. And it seems like you had a lot of work to do and you're managing it quite well. You mentioned that already a bit, but could you maybe tell our listeners what have been some talks that took place in the past, some more concrete topics that you discussed in your sessions?
Yeah, so as I said before, we mainly focus on talks, the She Talks. And the original idea was to have women discuss their careers, what inspires them, gender equality, their role models. And we had some amazing guests there. Our first guest was Alma Sadic, which was really a great experience for us. And we also had Irmgard Gries. We had 3 female notaries, also women in diplomacy. So these were the talks we had in that section, but we also extended our project to current feminist topics, and we had one around abortion and violence against women. And this was also very important to us to include more topics here, something that also interests us, to hear something about these topics from women that are very invested and are working in these fields. And yeah, as I already also mentioned, we have now workshops. We also had run around questions around abortion and sexual offences. We started with that in 2025, yeah. And they are a bit different. They are supposed to create a safe space for Flinter people, so female, lesbian, intersex, non-gender, transgender, and agender people. Thank you. Yeah, it's supposed to be a smaller group, and you are supposed to feel comfortable asking questions, discussing things. And yes, the same idea applies to our networking events. We want the people to feel comfortable here, connecting, yeah.
And maybe also having a safe space to really share experiences, because I think as female-led persons, we all know how it is to like encounter struggles in the day-to-day life, and maybe those networking or community meetups can also be a space where you just share and you feel understood.
Yes, exactly. And this is the talking part, I would say. And we have now established, I think, also a great corner of our project, which is our social media work. And I think Helena can tell us best about that, because she is part of the social media team.
Yes, I am indeed. And I think our social media, especially our Instagram, so Instagram is like our main platform. We also post on Facebook, but I'm gonna be really honest, we're just like really are focused on Instagram, and we do a lot of informative as well as educational content on there. So post about feminist issues, basic concepts and ideas, etc. So for example, we did post about the male gaze, what is the male gaze, or women and their achievements, the male loneliness epidemic, so also current feminist issues. Contraception also is something we talk about a lot, and coming soon we also have a reels and video format, so we're quite excited about that. Yeah, and we are really looking forward to where that takes us. Also, just because Instagram as a platform works really well if you post videos. So yeah.
Yeah, we're also like focused on extending that further. So the last 2 members we admitted are now responsible for the video format. So we really want to set the focus also on Instagram, next to the talks, of course, and the workshops.
I would add currently our content is purely on German, but maybe also the talks are in German, but maybe in the future we can get a little more into English content just because it's more accessible. And we also, with our content really in those info posts especially, we hope that sometimes the barrier to getting knowledge about feminism seems quite high. If you're not like studying political science or you're not like, I don't know, in gender studies, it's quite hard to get there and to know those basic terms. And we also really want to educate and inform for people who maybe don't have the time to just read a book, because that can be quite a hassle.
Of course, yeah.
Wow, sounds amazing. Another question that we would like to ask you, if you slightly mentioned that you are not in the legal field, but is She Talks open for law students only or also for students from other disciplines?
So yeah, I'm not studying law, but generally we are open for everyone. We do announce on Instagram mostly when we're actively searching for new members, but unsolicited applications are welcome as well. So just tell us if you want to be part of the team. I just generally say that you have to be interested in intersectional feminism especially. So we think feminism as an intersectional practice, and you really have to want to work on feminist issues and not be in a very specific, I don't know, niche maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what we also have to say, our base is at the law faculty at the Juridicum, and we are mostly law students. So as you can see from the topics we mentioned before, we do have a law and a politics focus, but if somebody's interested in that, and as Helena said, feminism in general, then just reach out to us.
Yeah, and a lot of our members actually do pursue different degrees too.
Yes.
So a lot of us do two things. So yeah.
Amazing.
Not just
Yeah, it sounds like you have a group of very ambitious and dedicated
Absolutely.
members. And I'm very happy to hear that there is such an interest for students to join the organization. And maybe now we can move to more content-related stuff, because you're both very educated on the issue, also have experiences from all the talks and organization, and maybe you do have experience with hearing some stories of students. So what, in your view, are the biggest gender-specific challenges that students, maybe law students, but in general students and graduates face today?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I can only speak from the law student perspective. And nowadays, I think most really notice, but we have more female law students and female law graduates than male. But these numbers are not reflected in the professional world, especially when we go higher in rank, mostly men. So it's interesting that there's such a difference. And when you come from university as a female law graduate, you have these realities before you. And one obstacle maybe is even overcoming this, having these perspectives in mind, knowing that your chances are not as good as for a male graduate. This is the first thing you have to face. Of course, then there comes the question, why is this difference here? And the reasons are,
I think there are multiple.
Yeah,
I think
the
there
reasons
are
are multiple. First of all, of course, there is the general lower value of women in society, which is also reflected in the workplace. So that means often less respect from male colleagues, male networks you can't really enter where the decisions are made, promotions are decided, so less promotion opportunities. And of course there is the issue of a family, wanting to have children. Maybe you can tell us something about that.
Yeah, I think generally the thing is, when you get out of university as a woman, I would say you're maybe let's say you're around the age of 25, and then you have like 5 years in which you're expected to work, start getting maybe a good job, but at the age of 30, we all know the persuasion begins of people around you being like, oh my god, do you want to start a family? Do you want to be a mother? If you want to be a mother, when do you want to become a mother? So that as a whole is just a really structural element of what you experience as a woman in day-to-day life. And it's harder, I feel like, for especially graduates, but also maybe still students, to also know what you want, because you have to decide quite early. What do you want to achieve? How do you want to achieve it? When do you want to achieve it? Like, those are all things that are kind of like assimilating, and then you have to deal with them. Really.
Yeah.
For me, it also seems like the law setting especially is not helping here when you want to work in a law firm, for example.
Absolutely.
Especially that those environments are dominated by male
Definitely.
figures, the very long working hours that we all experienced or heard of are probably just favoring
Yes.
individuals that don't have caring duties, right?
Absolutely. I think these were experiences we heard at most of our talks. We often try to avoid the questions because women are often asked these questions when they talk about their job, their experience as a woman, but it is something that interests our audience, us as well.
Yeah, and it's also really important, I think, or it was really interesting that, for example, for the notary talk, we had 3 women of really different generations with us, and they all had a very different experience, but they also all talked about how there is no like notary women's network in Austria, for example. And Alina mentioned the networks that a lot of men have access to before, and I just feel like a big part of why it's also hard as a woman, as a student or graduate to really, or a bit harder, is that there are not as many female networks established in our society as there are male. Also because women aren't allowed to pursue their studies as long. I don't know, I think we talked about it. When were women allowed to study at the Juridicum?
1919, so not that long ago.
Wow.
It was also relatively late. You could study to become a doctor, I think, around 1900, and philosophy before that. So the law faculty was one of the last to be open to women.
I didn't know that. That's insane.
Yeah, and I think since then, of course, a lot has changed, but this is only due to the fact that women fought for their rights and their place at the law faculty as well, or at other faculties.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe that's a good connecting factor to our next question. What role do discussions or organizations like She Talks play in pushing for gender equality, especially in the legal profession or at the law faculty in general?
So I think in general it's twofold. On the one hand, we want to encourage young women to believe in themselves. Often we as women lack confidence in our abilities. We're just taught that way, or we have experienced it and have become that. So we want to encourage young women and push forward to a more equal society. And on the other hand, She Talks wants to spread awareness of gender inequality. And that is also the reason why we opened up our talks. Before we took over She Talks, it was only for women, but we opened it up for everybody, especially men, because we do need male allies. As we know, men are often in power positions, and if they decide to support us, to support feminism, then, I mean, it's just a lot easier and faster for us. We have to do a lot more work if they don't, which is also fine for us, but male allies are extremely important, and it's often said that this is an incredible and important factor of feminism as well. So we want to encourage that. Yes.
Obviously, and I also think maybe like having male allies at our talks is really helping to get those issues on the structural dimension or structural level, because oftentimes women's experiences are labeled as individual experiences, whereas they are structural by fact. And I think the more people know about that and really realize that, the more we can push for gender equality at the end of the day.
Yes, exactly.
Definitely.
Yes, so it seems that a lot of what you're doing is also focused on conversations and the importance of dialogue and awareness raising. And how do you see those conversations about feminism and other issues related to that evolving at Juridicum in the next years?
So I obviously can't talk about the Juridicum directly as an institution, but I think we as a society are currently generally leaning in a certain way. And I feel like where we can't predict where conversations go exactly, it's really important for all of us to stay engaged and to stay active. So we keep making progress in terms of gender equality, because when we keep bringing those issues up and we keep people having conversations that are maybe also uncomfortable, and maybe that is exactly what we need to push forwards.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, we as She Talks will continue with our work, and we hope to see maybe other organizations popping up in the future if we talk about the Juridicum specifically. There are also great lectures and courses which I think not many know about, especially from the Department of Legal History, about women in law and masculinity. So I can absolutely recommend them, but I hope to see more of this in the future.
Yeah, that would be great. Would be very great.
Yeah, especially in our department, we also see a lot of researchers, mostly women, using some methodologies such as feminist legal theory.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is getting more attention these days as well.
Which is important. Very important. Maybe now we should return to a more student-focused question again. And let me first direct it to you, Alina, since you were the one that started She Talks. How is it to run such a by now big student organizations, and how do you manage to combine it with your studies?
Honestly, especially at the beginning, it was quite hard because there was just no foundation. There was no organizational structure. We had no division of labor, basically. So nobody knew what to do. And we also didn't have any experiences from previous events. And our first event was with the Minister of Justice, which was a lot of pressure, to be honest. And it was very time consuming. But now we then slowly built this structure, we built the foundation, and now everyone is actively contributing. And this helps a lot to manage it besides work, besides studies, or both, depending on what you do. So it's not that time consuming anymore, because everyone has a job, everyone knows what to do, and we are also very flexible as a team. So if somebody says, I have an exam, I have a tough time at work, we are able to shift their tasks to someone else. So we are flexible like that, and this is a huge advantage for everyone. And without that, we wouldn't be able to make it work. Yeah.
Amazing.
So it seems like you're very flexible, so that might be quite encouraging for students, especially with a lot of workload at studies such as Jura. And what would you tell a first-year student who's unsure about engaging in extracurricular events, or maybe feels a bit shy to come to your talk or to approach you?
Well, I think in our case, it definitely helps to maybe visit one of our talks before. But then it's also just take your chance of getting to work with others, because we talked about it while preparing for this. Teamwork is a skill, and you really have to learn that skill. And Alina also mentioned that it's not that common, maybe in law especially, to work that much with others?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are studying law right now, you know that we don't have any group projects or something similar like that. So you only learn teamwork by engaging in extracurricular activities. And if you don't do that, you're ending up at your job later on and haven't worked in a team for 1 minute. And that's really bad, I have to say, because you need this skill, and it's something that can be learned, as you said, and has to be learned. It has to be well managed.
Yeah, totally. And I also think those activities also help you to establish a network on your own, to just make connections. And because you said job, it's also good for your CV. So we all know people, when you just send someone your CV, they want to know who you are, maybe as a person. So not basically what did you do in your studies, but what else is there. And I think that also helps with that. So if you are interested in joining a extracurricular activity or a student organization, I would say just go for it. And if you realize that's not the thing you want to do, then you can still just say, okay, maybe it's not for me, and that's totally okay. So it's also a little bit of trial and error and getting out of your comfort zone, really.
Yeah, I think getting out of your comfort zone is a put term.
And I mean, I have to mention it also, if She Talks is not the project for you, that's completely fine. But especially the Juridicum has a lot of things to offer when you're studying. Especially the Juridicum has a lot of things to offer, like moot courts or just pro bono things, extracurricular things, just as our organization. So there are a lot of opportunities, and you just should take them.
Feel encouraged to do so.
Yes.
Yeah, I also think there is a big community aspect that can be quite important, especially these days. So being part of something bigger, being together with other people, maybe create some relationships as well.
Maybe also people who share your vision for how society could develop, like really in any form, or share your vision job-wise or like just career-wise. I think it's really helpful.
Definitely. Okay.
So talking about some inspiration and maybe some personal insights. So of course, attending those talks can be good for our professional development, personal development, but maybe you can tell us what was a memorable moment or insight that you got from She Talks discussions, maybe something you weren't expecting?
So I think my most memorable moment was, if I have to be honest, our first event, because I mentioned it before, it was with the former Minister of Justice, Alma Sadic, and this was our first event, and we just wrote her an email and didn't think that she would agree to come to our project, which is completely new. She didn't know who we were. It was also a good time to ask her, because it was right before the election, so I think she also was happy to make the time. But it was just great, and it went very well, and we were so encouraged by it that I think I can say that this is kind of the foundation that we went from, because we were so encouraged and happy that people came to listen to us and to her. So this was such a great experience for me, and I think my most memorable moment.
I have to agree with you, because I went to that talk and it was an amazing talk, and I was so proud of you. You really did an amazing job at that talk, organizing it, and with Alma Sadic, a very big guest.
Thank you so much. We'd like to hear that.
So for me, it's our last talk, which I got to moderate. And the memorable moment, I think I need to give a bit of context. So while having our last talk, I asked one of the diplomats on current world developments and long-term international relations, especially concerning women and the role they play. And her answer really stuck with me because she said that the networks that were established in the past, the networks between different women of different ethnicity, status, religion, they can't be erased. So nowadays, I think sometimes I struggle with feeling alone with my problems, or I feel like the issues I face as a woman, they sometimes feel very individual. And I don't know what the future holds, but her answer really gave me goosebumps, to be honest, because she said those different women sitting on a table, they have sat there and you can't erase that. You can't change the past. They know each other and they are connected. And I think that's like also such a fundamental aspect of our works. We are connected. We have established some kind of community maybe also, and we've built something that even maybe if one of us stops doing She Talks and is like just having a lot going on in life, that's still something that you maybe also can rely on in a sense. Yeah, and I think that's just really beautiful, to be honest, and really impactful to realize you are not alone and there is a community and a network around you.
Yeah, well said.
Very well said indeed. Maybe as like a last question to sum our whole talk up, what other NGO or organization would you join or recommend if it wasn't She Talks?
I mean, I think in general, for me personally, She Talks was a good starting point because it's a little more low barrier than maybe starting at an established NGO with like a long history. For example, UN Women still is and was an organization that has a lot of really cool projects. But yeah, I wouldn't know, to be honest.
I think I'm also going to stay with your answer. At the moment, I'm quite happy with She Talks, and I'm excited for everything that the future brings.
Also future developments. And I think maybe to end on that note, and also back to the question of what would you tell a first year student who's unsure about engaging in those like little networks, it does not only give you the skill teamwork, but it also really is a starting point. And it is a way to build community and maybe to go from there on. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We learned a lot about She Talks, and we hope our listeners also did. Again, we recommend you to contact us if you have any recommendations for next NGOs you would like to hear about. We very much enjoyed talking to you and are looking forward to your next moves and next events.
So we have our first networking event at the end of January. So the 30th of January, we have a book talk where it is also, like I said, open only for Flinter people. And we are just discussing books about feminism and something that inspires us. So that is the next big event we have. But even bigger, I think, will be April, because we have another politician with us. We have the Minister of Women, Science and Research, Eva Maria Holzleitner, with us, and we're extremely excited because I think we couldn't have a more perfect guest. So yes, this is also something that's coming up.
That sounds amazing. So we invite all our listeners to look up She Talks social media and stay in touch, and maybe see you at the event.
Yes, we're going to link all the information in the description of this episode. And once again, it was lovely to hear you. And till the next episode.
Thank you.
Bye.